I'd like to call the evening session of the Johnston County Board of Commissioners to order and welcome all those who are here in person. Good to see you. Also welcome those who are watching on our live stream on YouTube. Welcome to you as well. A couple of announcements to start with. We had a couple of ballots for board positions with the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board and also one position with the Library Board of Trustees. And we have the tally for those ballots, and there will be a reappointment of Craig Williams to the ABC Board and also a reappointment of Gary Underwood to the Library Board of Trustees. With that, we will move on to the first item, which is approval of the agenda. Are there any adjustments that need to be made to the agenda? If not, I hear a motion.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So any opposed, nay? All right, the agenda is approved. First up, we have public comments, and this is an opportunity for members of the audience to come forward and address the board on items that are not on the agenda. And you have 3 minutes to do that. If you would, when you come forward, please state your name and your town or township that you are from, and we just ask you to keep things in a civil manner and in a proper decorum. And again, this is a reminder that this is an opportunity for the board to listen to comments and not engage in impromptu conversation. So with that, I believe we do have one person signed up, Kevin Saunders. Come on, Mr. Saunders, if you would come forward.
How you doing?
Good to see you again.
Yes, I'm here again. Okay, it started out, my wife getting sick from the chicken coop, and I've contacted Mr. Hester, and he had Cameron and Braxton to come out. And when I informed Braxton about the shed that was built, he said that by having a plastic cover, it wasn't considered a shed. But if you look at the Johnston County codes, it says if it has a permanent structure and it's over 12 by 12, the setback laws are 10 feet beyond the property line. And then they're instructing my neighbors to, like dig down so it won't come onto the property, which caused my wife to get sick with the feces and urine and stuff from the chicken coop. I've hauled contaminated soil away. So even if you dig down and you have all that stuff just sitting there marinating, it's, it's bacterial heaven for all kinds of pathogens to, multiply. And I have the doctor's notes and stuff here for my wife getting sick. Also, I have the Johnston County codes and stuff on the setback laws and the requirements of a shed. And they even built it even bigger after they didn't do nothing the first time. It went from like about, I say a 12 by 16 to a 48 by 48 structure. And then they even put, roofing shingles and stuff, metal roofing shingles on top of it, aluminum roofing shingles and stuff. So I'm just trying to get this matter taken care of. I'm ready to seek, an attorney also, because they don't even, the covenants in my neighborhood even states they don't even supposed to have chickens over there. I've been civil with them, trying to get them to just move it to the backyard. I was even compromised with it. They didn't want to do that. She said she didn't want to walk. And then after one of the people from the building, people came last week, I got pictures where they put chairs up and was taunting me because Johnston County came out to tell them, something about the structure. So I'm just letting I've been trying to be civil with them, but if you don't do nothing to them, they just take it, and they're disrespectful to me, and they're disrespectful to, the county for not following, the requirements of having building permits and building within the setback laws where they should happen. So hopefully we can get this stuff addressed so, my wife won't be getting sick and I won't be getting sick because I have a compromised immune system also. And that's it.
Okay. Did you want to leave the information with us, or
Yeah,
that
you
for
could,
If you would just
yeah.
give it to the deputy clerk there to your right.
And I'm sure y'all have these codes and stuff.
Yeah, whatever you want to leave with, just leave it with the deputy clerk. And then Rick will, if you can get staff to continue to look into this. Okay.
Who you want to leave it?
Yeah, right there.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, anyone else wishing to speak? All right, and Madam Clerk, there were no emails. Okay. All right, then we will move on to our public hearings. And our first public hearing is case 1529. It is a special use modification. And I will now open the special use hearing and call for the clerk to swear anyone in who's wishing to speak on this case. But I would say if you think you might, go ahead and get sworn in, and if you wind up not standing up, that's okay too.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give before this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, then, Mr. Newton, if you would present the case background, and we'll see if we have any questions for you after you do that.
Yes, sir. Case 15-29 modification is a petition to modify a existing special use permit with regard to property located at 245 Macklemore Road in Cleveland Township. It is currently zoned general business special use district, and they're requesting to add allowable uses. The owner is Macklemore Farms LLC, and the applicant is Denton Lee Jr. The requested amendment is to add allowable use as office or medical and dental facilities to that special use permit. If you'll reference the screen, you will see on a map on the screen the map showing the specific site. But that entire development there in green is the Food Line Center without parcels. The Food Line Strip Center without parcels. This is, once again, is a special use district from a legacy special use district, and there is an existing special use permit, and the property is currently conforming to the special use conditions that are in place for that development. As you can see, the existing or surrounding zoning and land uses is agriculture and residential. Use for such purposes. There's also the Wellesley development just to the south of it, and then if you just to the north on the opposite side of Cleveland Road, there is some commercial development there as well. Traffic concerns, Cleveland Road, there's about 9,500 vehicles per day. This is a 2021 count. Our land use plan has this area designated as a medium density residential place type. And I would be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Newton? So I would just clarify that the 4 findings of fact that were originally issued are still valid for this modification.
Yes, sir, that is correct. They are still applicable as a special use permit. Although we do not, special use districts are no longer allowed. The special use permit is, and a special use permit, you do have to meet those 4 findings.
Okay.
Yes,
And so this basically is to add the medical/dental
Yes, sir.
office use. Okay.
just limiting to add addition of the additional uses.
All right. Any other questions? All right, thank you. We will ask for the applicant to come forward and please state your name and address.
Good evening. Denton Lee, 2 Annandale Drive, Clayton, North Carolina. We are under contract at the present time to sell this particular lot to a pediatric dentist, which we think is a very viable business in this area. We have limited commercial use here in what I call downtown Cleveland. April is in uptown Cleveland, but we are in downtown Cleveland. So very limited commercial space, and but we have to be very careful with the types of businesses that we will allow in here. The food line that we brought here in 2015 is the number 4 food line in all of their territory. So It is a very high-use area. We think a pediatric dentist is a perfect type of business to bring to this. We were shocked when we learned that our special use did not include health care or dental, but Food Line, at the time they rezoned all of this property, took care of that, and we just missed that. So we're just adding those two so we can bring that. We're within 5 miles of 5 elementary schools, so I think a pediatric dentist would do very well here with a 6th elementary school on the way. So we would appreciate approval of this, and all the properties have been under full compliance of the zoning since it was done in 2015-16. I will be happy to take questions.
Right. Any questions for Mr. Lee?
Right beside it, is that retention pond?
That is the retention pond that Food Line put in, and at the time of their development, they planned, even in the properties that you see in front of this or to the side of their parking lot, they put enough stormwater retention in there for all of these sites to eventually be developed. At the time that they developed, I held on to the ownership of those properties, even though we sold them what was there, and we brought a Medicap, was a Medicap, but is now Health Smart Pharmacy out in front of the Food Line. So all services that are greatly needed by the public in this area. There are about 45,000 residents within 5 miles of this location, so being able to provide some services that are not currently provided in that area is probably a very good thing.
All right, any other questions, Mr. Lee?
I played baseball on the field across from the fire station there 60 years ago. It's changed a lot.
Changed a little bit, Ted.
Yeah.
All right, anyone else? All right, thank you, Mr. Lee. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to this? I don't think anyone else was sworn in, so that kind of, all right. I will close the public discussion portion of this hearing and call for Mr. Newton to come forward to summarize, and I guess there's no planning board, since there's special use permit modification, there's no real, you can have any discussion you want to present on that.
It is. No, sir. Planning Board did conduct a public forum to allow opportunities or public opportunities to come and view the project or view the request and hear plans for request. And there was no opposition or anyone that showed up to speak about the project or about the request. Planning staff does recommend approval in finding that we believe it does is in keeping with 4 findings of fact.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Newton? All right, I will turn it over to the,
You gonna close the
yeah,
hearing?
well, we'll close the special use hearing and turn it over to the board.
Mr. Chairman, based on findings of fact and special use conditions, I move for approval of the special use permit modification.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. All right, next up we have,
Dude, could I ask Braston a question right fast?
sure.
Not, you mentioned a while ago about the traffic count of 2021. It's probably changed a lot. Do you know how often do we update that traffic count in places like this?
So typically DOT does those depending on the road type and the capacity. They do those about every 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
So this was delayed. Some of these were delayed during COVID period, and
Right.
traffic counts weren't taken, so that kind of threw them a little off cycle. We should anticipate some new traffic counts being at least being published here.
Right.
I would say later this year or early next year.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we will now move on to case 2325, and I will open the conditional zoning district hearing. And it's, just note that it's continued from our July 15th meeting, and I will call on Mr. Newton to present the background.
Yes, sir. Case 23-25 is petition to rezone approximately 3 acres of an 18.3 acre tract located at 8428 NC Highway 50 North in the Elevation Township from agriculture residential to general business conditional zoning district. Owner is Katie Prue, applicant is Blake Hess, and he does represent or is employed by Enoch Engineers. Conditional zoning request involves a land use specific to mulch and landscaping sales and equipment and commercial vehicle parking. The existing and surrounding land zoning and land uses is AR and used for agriculture residential purposes, and there is a place of worship, a church, which is overflow, which is just to the south of this property and borders and does border the property. Traffic concerns, this portion of Highway 50, the count is 5,000 vehicles, or 5,500 vehicles per day. That's 21 count. And Highway 50 does appear on the CTP as an existing major thoroughfare with adequate defined capacity. Our land use plan indicates that this is a low-density residential land use place type, and staff does have a recommendation of denial, and this is based on the fact that the 18 acres, if you look to the north end, or the north portion of the site, this was brought to us as a complaint with regard to parking commercial vehicles and some other activities, some land disturbance as well. And that's how this was generated. So be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
The land that, the 18 acres is 18, so there's violations on that 18 acres now?
Yes, sir.
All right, any other questions from Mr. Newton at this time? I mean, and you did say that it came as a violation.
It did, yes, sir.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right. If the applicant is here, if they would come forward and present your request, and also we can talk about the proposed conditions as well.
Yes, sir. Hi, guys. Thanks for seeing me again. My name is Brian Prue. From the last time I was here, we have made a couple changes to the site plan per y'all's recommendations. We've added a nice big turnaround lane for trucks to be able to pull in and turn around without having issues or blocking anybody in the highway. We've also widened out between the mulch piles to give a little bit more space for cars to pull through and for loading, and we have brought in the parking that in the back for the commercial vehicles so that we are not over our disturbance limit. We are still in violation. That's the purpose of all of this, to try to get out of violation. We have been living here now for going on 14 years and have been parking my dump trucks here since the time we built this house on this property. We were told we got an anonymous complaint. We don't know who it was from. Nobody has ever showed up and complained to us personally. We do everything we can to help out our community and our neighbors. I have been to every house in the neighborhood. I have been to the church next door, and I've been to the farmers all around me, and nobody has any problems or complaints against this. With all the subdivisions popping up in our area, I feel like a mulch yard, a gravel yard would be something that could really help out the community. There is nothing like this around us for people to be able to go and buy materials other than going to Lowe's to get mulch or going and calling someone like myself to deliver the gravel. I own a tub grinder which makes mulch, so I'm already in the mulch business. I have dump trucks. I'm already in the gravel and sand business, so it just kind of makes sense for me to follow this route and commercialize this property so that I'm not in complaint and I'm doing everything right with the county.
All right, then can you put up the proposed conditions? And I think there are 12 of those. And you've had an opportunity to review these and agreeable to those 12 conditions?
Agreeable to all of them, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Let me see if I find my spot here. All right. And I think that, any questions at this time?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman, about the conditions on number 2, an 8-foot opaque fence around any outdoor storage areas. Okay. I
Yes,
misread
so
it.
where the equipment's parked in the back, yes.
So it wouldn't be a fence across the front of Highway 50?
There will be a 15-foot gate across the front, yes.
I did see that. Okay, just wanted to make sure.
The mulch drum, is that the mulch made on site?
No, sir. I go to other locations and make mulch. I currently do land clearing, so I make it and then I give the mulch away to other companies because I'm not able to sell it myself.
So will this, so So you said you're going to move your equipment from the other side of the property over here. So then this will get rid of both violations, I'm assuming, is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
correct? Okay.
So the conditions limit you, though, to, where we go? I saw two, where did I see the note? So 2 trucks,
Yeah,
two trailers,
Love it.
and 2 pieces of equipment to load.
Yes, sir.
And that's, I mean, I've seen more than that on the other side, so that's all you want to park over
No,
there is 2 and
that's
2 and
just
2?
That was just for loading, it says, for the equipment, for the mulch purposes. Half of the equipment you guys see is my father's. We've been in the process of getting that gone, and he is working on it, but it has been a process.
Okay.
But I currently own 3 dump trucks and 1 loader. So there will be 3 dump trucks there, and then I own 1 18-wheeler that pulls my low boy around.
So the conditions say 2 trucks, 2 trailers, and 2 pieces of equipment to load, which I'm thinking, so you're telling us you have 4 trucks
I think maybe it was misworded in there, yes, sir.
and 4 trucks
Yeah, I have 3.
and 2 trailers?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then 2 pieces, and I'm assuming that's an excavator and
And
skid
yes,
steer?
yes,
Okay.
sir.
And then also, you had mentioned gravel, and I think I didn't see gravel mentioned as one of the materials that was
Yes,
on here, so this is
It says
mulching.
mulch and gravel, yes, sir, it does.
Am I missing that? Somewhere I look at 12 and it says mulch must be delivered, and it's up higher.
From off-site.
Yeah, I see one says mulch and landscaping, sale and staging. So I don't, somebody help me and read, but I don't see
Seeing gravel.
I don't see gravel.
Gravel.
So is that another proposed material storage, and does that
Yes,
get
sir.
you?
If gravel's not on there, I'm not sure why, because gravel has been part of it the entire time, yes, sir.
And will that be staged in these,
Yes, sir, in those contained bins.
the bins?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then I guess getting a few more questions in here. When I look at the plans, and I see that the impervious surface is pretty much already butted up to the maximum you can get without getting a stormwater permit. I think it was within a couple of hundred square feet. And I'm looking at your plans, and I'm not a traffic engineer, but it just looks the turn radius for a dump truck coming in there, that seems like a pretty tight radius, and in a matter of a few days, you're going to have stone, and you're going to exceed your impervious surface area limits.
We
very
actually
quickly.
painted it out on the ground to make sure that that was enough space for trucks to be able to get in and turn around. That's how we came up with that decision for the size there. It's more than enough room to get a truck in there and turn it around, yes, sir.
So you can turn in that 15-foot driveway?
Yes, sir. No problem. We painted it out and did it already just to make sure.
Okay. And then my other question is, I see where the ditch is, but I don't see, you're talking about a 2-foot difference across a 15-foot driveway. How are you going to level that out, or at least decrease the slope without going outside the footprint of what you show here?
Where we haven't, I mean, it was just, the plan was just to put gravel on top of it so the water will still drain like it currently is. But if needed to be leveled out, we can certainly do so.
Yeah, I mean, to me, we're kind of back to, I don't think that really shows the reflection of the actual disturbed area, knowing there's going to be some kind of slope, at least in my opinion, extending outside this 15-foot driveway on that part of the circle, particularly on the eastern part of the circle.
There's no, I don't believe we're going to need to extend it, sir. There is enough room there as it is currently.
Again, I've been in the highway construction business for 50, I don't know how you're gonna have a road that's 2-foot elevation difference in 15 feet. Somehow you've got to raise one side and put some kind of slope or shoulder
It's not a
out there.
2-foot difference. I'm not,
Well, that's what your plan has on there. It shows a 2-foot
can't-
contour across
okay.
that drawing.
Okay.
So that's all I've got to go
Come
by.
up with when the surveyors went out
Yeah,
there.
that's all I've got to go by.
Looks to be at least 10 feet across the entire turnaround area.
Yeah,
That's aggressive contours.
yes. So just And I was trying to see if I had anything else.
So I see the normal business hours are from 8 to 5, Monday through Saturday. Do you anticipate having someone staff it? I mean, is that the plan?
Yes, ma'am, we hope to get to that point where we need somebody full-time on staff, but, mulch is a seasonal business.
Right.
So currently, it'll just be pull in, call me, I'm able to go out and load, or my wife or my children. We're all in this together.
Yeah.
We want to make this work. But we do hope to grow it to be at the point where we do need somebody full-time now.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And talk to me a little bit about what the container bins are going to look like. And I don't
the-
mean to get too in the weeds,
No, you're
but
fine.
we all know of a
The
mulch
big
place.
concrete blocks that you've seen that concrete factories or companies make and you put them around, it'll be a nice straight wall, nice
Okay.
straight wall of those with rows, and the mulch will be contained inside those bins.
Okay. There's just another one locally that sits on the road, and all you see is like overflow of stuff. It just seems like there's piles of it. And
Right. I've
there's
been to,
supposed bins, but there's nothing really being contained.
I've been to the local ones. There's a couple in Clayton, and there's nothing containing those piles. They're
Right.
just free flowing. Mine will be contained, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, again, I know that your things are stretched to the limit on some of these, particularly on impervious surface, and I've seen the bins, I know the bins you're talking about, and stuff runs out the front, and you've got some extra space there that's going to be impervious surface at some point. I just see, with things as tight as they are, that I don't see how you can, in reality, maintain it so dump truck, you don't wind up disturbing a bigger area than what's shown on here. I mean, everything is, you're to the limit on everything, and anything bigger than that, you're going to be in violation of either stormwater, a need for a stormwater permit, or disturbed area for erosion control or grading permit. So, just my concerns.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just one. So
should I proceed to go ahead and get a stormwater permit? I just want to do the right thing.
I don't know. I'm just what you have in front of us is what we've got to make a decision on.
If you don't think that I can make it work with the sizes, then I'm willing to do that. But from what I was told, we can stay within these boundaries, then we're in compliance.
Yeah, I think
to stay in compliance.
If you could, I think if you could stay within that, I just don't know how reasonable it is. Again, I know how stuff just spreads out. I mean, you can try your best, but there's going to be something spill off the back of the truck, and there's going to be, as you're loading stuff, it's going to spill over the backside of the bins. I mean, that's just the reality, and you're right at the edge of it. But I don't have any other questions.
No.
All right, anyone else wishing to speak to this item? All right, I think we're done, and we may have some modifications of the conditions, so we'll
Okay.
call you back up if we need you. All right. Well, I will go ahead and, let me ask, so we can, if we decide to add trucks and gravel to this, is now the time to get those conditions? Okay, so I should come back up then, so. But we don't need a discussion amongst us to add that to the list before we ask him the conditions?
You can do it either way, but when it's all said and done, he has to agree to
Okay.
the conditions, so.
Okay,
whatever
so
process
I'll get to you once we get through with our discussion. Let's do that before I ask you questions that may or may not apply to the situation. So with that, I will close the public discussion and call for Mr. Newton to come forward and summarize for us and present the planning board's recommendation.
Sir, as it relates to case 23-25, Planning Board does recommend approval and offers a statement of consistency for your consideration.
All right, any additional questions, Mr. Newton?
The planning board recommended approval. Then, do you think the stone and slope of the road and those items were they discussed?
Not in great detail, not at Planning Board. Staff has, in staff technical review, as we were processing the application as we normally do, those are concerns we have had. We just, based on the topo, the information, the data we are given, we don't believe it's really feasible to for that particular design to accommodate the type of vehicles they're looking for to be used in this facility. That is concerns.
And gravel, did you say that was or was not part of your discussions?
Yeah,
the staff review?
it was not, no, sir.
All right, any other
I have a question.
questions?
Mr. Newton, looking at the, how this is currently characterized in the land use plan, and it's a residential, low-density residential area, is that correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
And I noticed in the applicant's response to questions that it is based upon current trends, they're expecting further development of subdivisions and other property types to be predicted within the vicinity of the site, which means that the type of the development that it is zoned for is going to continue to grow. Is the presence of this operation, which is outside the context of the zoning considerations, that they become more problematic in the future?
I'm not sure I could say definitively that it would. Obviously, you have, this is a major thoroughfare. Currently, it's designed based on the current vehicle or trips per day. It does meet or within that capacity of that roadway. However, as you add more vehicles, there becomes more issues with the type of vehicles entering and exiting. If they are larger vehicles, they are much slower at entering and exiting a property than a typical passenger vehicle. So there are some concerns there.
I'm concerned about the amount of elevation change across this circle for a vehicle to be able to turn around in. I said it's about approximately 10 feet from one side to the other. It's going to have to be cut down and leveled out across that area. And that's going to have to be stabilized such that it'll support the weight of these heavy vehicles. I mean, you go to most mulch yards, and as soon as you've got a little bit of rain out there, you start seeing a lot of pumping of soil because of heavy traffic out there. I would think that's going to be a concern here.
So we do have concerns over that as well as design now. The engineer's plan does not truly indicate whether these are existing elevations or whether these are proposed elevations, but to us, either way at this point, on paper, it's not designed to where we feel comfortable with it. Obviously, it'd have to go through a more intense scrutiny post this process if approved. However, this is information that would be, I would think, would be paramount to be able to make a sound decision.
It appears that there's a ditch about 5 foot off that 15-foot turnaround area there on that lower side. That's going to be a driving hazard right there. Except I don't know.
Well, that amount of cut and fill, cut on one side and fill on the other, you're going to have a fairly substantial base to support these multi-axle dump trucks.
Yes.
So, we're looking at 80+ thousand pounds?
No, sir, 70,000.
70,000?
Yes, sir.
You can see that's a lot of weight.
I don't know why I didn't put it on this flat area up here.
Oh, that's on the other side.
Yeah,
of
no,
the property.
but it makes sense, but it does back up to these houses.
I thought that at first too, Mr. Godwin, just
Yeah.
driving by the property.
Yeah.
Just the question was, rather than on this portion of the property, what about where the existing trucks and stuff are stored now? That was the option
Where it looks
discussed.
flat.
I would be fine with that as well. This was the original recommendation, so I was just going with that.
And
It does butt up behind those houses.
yeah, it is adjacent to houses, so that makes a little more sense, so.
Yeah.
That's why we were going with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
other side, yes, sir, so we weren't on top of the neighborhood.
Then you started getting more into conflict with existing.
Residential,
Yeah,
yeah,
residential.
that's right. All right, let's see, any other questions for Mr. Newton before we can discuss?
Why wouldn't, looks to me like it'd be a lot better on the other side of the property.
Well, that's what he's talking about, getting closer, there's residential on the other side, so.
Yeah.
he didn't want to have a conflict with his neighbors. All right, so that brings, we're back to, I guess, to the point, do we want to modify conditions that were discussed, or do we want to go ahead and close the hearing and vote based on the conditions that are presented? Well, I guess first vote on the statement of consistency and approve or deny the request.
Somebody want to say anything?
Sure, I mean, this is a legislative process, so if, I don't mind if you want to come back up and add to that.
As to Mr. Braxton's concerns, the field on that side is a hard red compactable dirt. We drive our trucks over there all the time. They don't sink. I just wanted to address that. He was concerned about that as well. The church next door to me holds up traffic on Highway 50 3 days a week. There's times I can't get out of my driveway for 15 minutes with all the cars coming and going. Nobody's ever had to wait on my trucks to come or go in and out of the driveway. There's no wait. They just pull in and out like a normal vehicle does. And then I think down here in the bottom where it says landscaping, mulch and other landscaping resources, I believe that they were just adding the gravel into the other resources category of that, instead of just spelling out each and every individual item that.
What number is that here?
Proposed conditioning zoning district information number 1. It says proposed condition zoning area will be provided mulch and other landscaping resources to new development with the purpose of assisting new developments in meeting the landscaping requirements set in by Johnston County.
So is that in up in the question and answer?
Referring to the
application. Yeah, I see it. It's in the application. Okay, I see that. Yeah, we're talking about the actual conditions.
I have one concern that you said you're going to make your bins out of concrete block.
Yes, sir, those big blocks.
And you fill the voids with concrete and put rebar in them and all that?
No, sir, the way those blocks are built, they have grooves.
Are you talking about the big, like the
Yes.
Stackable.
stack?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir,
the real
yes.
big,
Yeah.
the
Yes,
bulk, real heavy, okay.
They're designed to lock together like that, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, they've got the grooves in the top and the
Yeah.
bottom.
Now, this is a clay site.
Yes, sir.
Jersey barriers or
Anticipate
something.
that your
But,
truck's gonna be bringing mud out into the highway?
No, sir, that's what the purpose of the gravel would be for, to keep them off of the mud, yes, sir.
My experience with gravel is that whatever you
It's
put
not
on
showing
there
gravel, it's showing
disappears,
asphalt.
yeah, within 6 to 12 months. You have to put a whole lot more in.
That was my only concern, just safety concerns of if there's excess gravel that's in the road. We have that issue. I don't live far from this property where our neighbor's road keeps washing out, and it's a death trap in front of our house for motorcycles and stuff like that because of the way the gravel piles. And so that's my biggest concern with the
Coming
amount of
off- Coming
traffic
off the
there.
highway, you come down onto the property, so they won't be
it's
washing up onto the highway.
Yeah, I just meant with gravel that comes with the dragging in and out of vehicles and that type of thing.
Church
Just-
parking lot's all gravel.
Your drawing shows pavement up to
2,500
the property
cars
line, but
every
it doesn't show
Sunday.
any gravel beyond that point. It shows gravel for customer parking, but it doesn't show any gravel for
Yeah, it says
Yeah.
paved, yeah, it just says paved.
paved
I'm
up to
assuming
the
that's
property
asphalt,
line,
yeah.
I think it said.
Yeah, that wasn't clear to me because it's designated as gravel,
And it says,
but it's got its own type of nomenclature to reflect that.
got gravel turnaround, maybe that could be, they don't really, because they show gravel at the back and they show gravel on the side and they got a,
It should be a gravel from 50 all the way straight through.
but
Yeah,
we've got,
yeah, it's just not, the symbols aren't
yeah, they're
all the
not,
way through.
Yeah.
The drive it says gravel
Yeah,
on it, so,
looks like riprap in the back where the parking.
I know.
yeah, it's just a different,
I
yeah.
noticed that as well. I told you these engineering company hasn't been the greatest. They've been kind of complicated to deal with, but we paid them up front, so it's not like I could find somebody else.
I think it's another situation we've seen a lot already this year where we've got somebody who wants to have a business at home and provide a service to the community, and it's amongst, a business-ish beside it. I think it's just a question of, conforming, and is it the best for the community? Because we certainly don't want to keep anybody from having a business, or a working from home situation, but
And I actually, now that I'm sitting here reading a little more, I forgot I did have one other thing. So there's a statement on the plan that says no blue line streams, wetlands, or flood zones. And I don't believe there's any stream, but wetlands, I know there's some at the property line on the side of the church.
Yeah, down in the bottom,
Yeah,
there's a
and-
little runoff stream down there.
And typically, that doesn't stop at the property line. So I would think that you would see wetlands across on your property.
It doesn't, sir. It's just runoff from the road. It's not wet all the time. It's just whenever it rains, it runs down there. It's just a ditch from the road.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that on the church property, there's wetlands at your property line. And I don't know of any cases where the wetlands stop at a property line. They continue on to whatever that natural feature is, that the reason they're on one side, they're on the other to some extent, unless there's been fill, and I haven't seen any evidence of any fill or anything down there. So part of my concern is with the lack of erosion, again, the stormwater permit, with the lack of erosion control measures in place, that there would be some, I don't want to use the word, just impact to wetlands down in what is the eastern corner of your property, where there's adjoining wetlands on the other side.
I wasn't aware they were even considered it wetlands. Nobody ever.
Did anybody go
No.
look?
No, they walked the whole site, yes, sir. From the engineering guys.
Are they wetlands specialists or?
That I don't know, sir.
Okay.
Well,
So
it says
I've walked
0.72
this,
acres.
I've never had water down there. I mean,
Yeah.
I walk it all the time. I've never.
yeah, well, I think that, there's some criteria specifically for wetlands.
More plants and
Yeah, it's
soil.
plants, soil conditions, as well as as water within
I'm
there.
not sure.
So-
I know where all this would be is several hundred feet away from that proposed area you're talking about being wetlands.
Yeah.
This says approximately 2.99 acres, but the disturbed area is only 0.72. That looks like a whole lot more than 0.72 would have to be disturbed.
And this is a question for staff. Do we verify acreages?
We do, yes, sir.
Okay. And so what he has in the plan is consistent with what you staff measured?
In terms of the zoning boundary, yes, sir.
Okay.
Now, obviously verifying the acreage, once they start development, we will do that, out on an as-needed basis. If it's determined they maybe exceed any land disturbance area, or any disturbance area that may require land disturbance permit, erosion and sedimentation control as well. And based on their plans, if they reach or exceed 17,000 square feet of impervious area on the plan, you're subject to the stormwater permit as well. And once again, site conditions, if they exceed that on site, upon site visit, we'll have them retroactively, we'll stop working, have them retroactively exceed that stormwater permit.
And I have no problem doing that. If that's what you guys want me to do, I have no problem doing that.
But if you do a balance cut and fill across this site, then you're gonna have a toe of a slope on the downside that's gonna extend down that slope a good ways. And that's not reflected here. These are not final these are existing contours from what I can see.
Yeah.
They're not final contours. So the actual disturbed area is not really represented on this document.
I think you would have to, because of the landscaping buffer around, and I think you'd have to include, it looks to me like there ought to be about an acre and a half of disturbed area there.
I think it's more than what's represented here.
Yeah, I think you did a better job of stating what I was trying to state before. I think that the disturbed area is going to be greater.
Yes,
Than
than the
what's presented here.
0.72 that's presented here.
Yeah.
It appears to be existing contours, but not finished contours that take into consideration how that soil is going to be balanced down on the downside of the slope.
So I can go ahead and put in to get those permits done. And I have plenty of mulch to stabilize the bank on the downside, so we don't have an erosion control issue. And mulch is approved for stabilization on banks.
And there'll be some extension beyond the turnaround on the upside, because it'll have to be at a slope that doesn't allow for excessive erosion to come down. It'll have to be stabilized just like the downside, but that's going to extend your disturbed area beyond what is reflected by the outside bound area of this circle.
I can go ahead and get that extended permit then. You guys think it's going to go beyond the boundary then?
Let me ask staff this question then. So is the next step in this process, assuming it was approved, would be site plan submittal, and then they would have a chance to look at what actually, and then after that, it would be inspection to make sure they're in compliance.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
So there is some opportunities there to make sure.
Yes, sir. We need a full set of site development plans, erosion sedimentation control and service, along with their stormwater management plan, if required. All of that is to be submitted and reviewed by DOT.
If he disturbs more than an acre, he's got to have a stormwater management plan, right?
They have to have erosion sedimentation control permit. Yes, sir. Stormwater management plan comes when you're at 17,000 square feet of
More.
groundwater of impervious area.
All right. So I think we're good with any, what are the wishes of the board? Do we want to modify the conditions? Make a motion to either, or deny? I mean, I can see we either modify conditions and move forward with a positive result, or take it to what's presented to us.
Modify it to what extent? What are you talking about modifying?
I think we get muddy water if we start modifying them.
Well, I'm just talking about modifying the conditions from 2 trucks to 4 trucks, and then from
Gravel.
mulch to mulch and gravel, and then the conditions.
So I guess I have 2 questions then with regards to that, probably for Braston. With some of your concerns with the topo and whether or not, and I mean, if you go by, it does look like it's in a hole, and then there's kind of like the higher points of it. So if their concerns come to fruition, what is the enforceability of that? And if there's more trucks in or what on here, I guess, what's worst case scenario?
So if they don't conform to the conditions of the zoning, then they're in violation. They'll be sent a notice of violation to follow through. They have to conform to those. If they find at any time their business is expanding such, or their needs change for whatever reason, they would need to come back and modify the conditional zoning. Very much like a special use permit, it's just a different hearing.
I think I was just trying to clarify with some of the concerns that were brought up. It sounds like we have a way to rectify that if they become an issue.
That's a good question, because I was wondering that myself, too.
Is that, if that were to be approved on that contingent basis, is that contingent upon having a construction plan that reflects the final contours and any associated runoff considerations, how they will be addressed?
Yes, sir. In this situation, it's a given. In every situation, we're going to require those and require that they fully permitted before we actually release it.
Okay, so if those, some reason that either is not achieved or cannot be achieved, then that would not allow the approval to move forward?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, and so with a 4, and I don't know the dimensions of dump trucks and all the other stuff, would that fit on that 65 by 72
Yes, sir.
pad?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And again, I guess we'll find out when we get out there and start doing it, so. All right, so again, I see we got 2 options, denial or modify the conditions and approve, so.
Well, it seems to me, I mean, we all seem to be struggling with it a little bit, but if you look at the overall situation, you got a natural buffer on that southeast side, even though it's a contour concern, and it cleans up that stuff behind the residence over there. And you have no citizens objecting to it. So I'm ready to move forward.
So this, a little bit of a detailed process, so we're just trying to make sure that we got all our bases covered on that, so.
I'm just wondering though, if we shouldn't wait until we get a plan showing the final contours and how it's going to actually look, because we know we got problems.
Yeah, I think that, historically, I think on the other conditionals, we don't have construction drawings
Yeah.
on those, so this is kind of where we are.
Yeah, and this thing's been going on since February.
Yeah, well, sometimes, some of us, it's not all us, so, yeah.
Of money, yeah.
And yes, sir,
Yeah.
and with all due respect, I don't want to pay him any more to go through this to then be rejected, you know what I mean? If you guys approve it, I'm
Yeah.
more than willing to put whatever I need to into it to get it there, but
That's fair.
Well, unfortunately, you'll need some more drawings from them to be able to get the site
my
plans.
hire an engineer if we get.
Actually approved, so, all right, so it sounds like we're moving towards the 4 dump trucks, still 2 trailers and 2 pieces of equipment, excavator, skid steer, whatever.
Yeah.
And then also adding gravel to condition, I think that was 12. I'm sorry, I'm looking at dump truck dimensions right now, hang on, let me get back over there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we would modify 11 to say 4 trucks and modify 12 to say mulch and gravel, or aggregate, I guess would be a better descriptor on that.
I would encourage you, if you go back to another engineer, to have your turning areas, there's 15, I've run dump trucks all my life, and 15 foot may be good if you're the one driving the dump truck all the time. But
Good point.
15 foot may not work for other, for employees, so.
Yes, sir.
I would encourage you to make that a bigger, wider
Yeah,
space there, 'cause
Okay.
yeah, I don't think with the
Have a problem.
modifications that we're talking about, I think you will see that it's gonna be a bigger disturbance, so there may be more you have to do, but I think, yeah, exactly, not to disparage dump truck drivers, but yeah, they use all the area they can, so.
Well, I can go ahead and put in for those permits, disturbance permits tomorrow if you guys approve.
Well, I think you got yeah, you gotta get somebody to draw the plans up, so,
Oh, okay.
but you're good. Again, we're back to the 12 with 11 being modified for the 4 trucks and 12 being modified for mulch and gravel.
We will need the applicant to consent to those verbally, to those modifications of the conditions.
Yes, sir. I do.
Okay, all right, I think he just did that, so,
Does there need to be anything in there regarding the having I'm gonna say a comprehensive engineering design on the contours as opposed to more comprehensive, because this is not adequate. I don't want to have anything to record giving the impression that as long as it looks like this design, that it met with our approval, because that's our concerns.
so I think that'll be in the construction drawings that they submit for the land
That's
disturbance
really a
permit.
staff question.
Okay,
Okay, all right.
okay, yeah, there it
Good.
goes, okay. All right, well, we have flipped that to all our places, we got those conditions modified, the applicant has agreed to those, and I'm assuming, let me see where I am in here, so we can close the hearing, and somebody please make a motion and carry us on.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to adopt the statement of consistency resolution as presented in the agenda packet and approve the rezoning request with the conditions discussed, the modifications of 11 and 12.
Second.
Second.
All right, we have a motion in a couple of seconds. It sounds like everybody's ready to move on this one. Any other discussion? All right, if not, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carried.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Might as
I
well.
think we gave you some work to do. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Work's just getting started.
Yeah.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank
sir.
you, too.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I think we know
All
our
right.
staff's gonna do a great job, so.
All right, next up, we have case 2406, which is also a conditional zoning hearing, and I will now open that hearing and call on Mr. Newton to present background for us.
Case 24-06 is a petition to rezone 6/400 of an acre located at 4709 NC Highway 50 South in the Meta Township from agriculture residential to community business conditional zoning district. Owner and applicant is Alton Joseph McClam. The conditional zoning request involves a specific land use to allow auto sales on the lot, and just in accordance with our general use district standards for community business, that does restrict the number of cars, and I think you'll see that reflected, that also be reflected in the conditions that are proposed. The surrounding land uses or zoning and land uses is primarily agriculture and residential and used for such purposes. There's an existing mechanics repair shop adjacent to this property. There's also a wedding and events venue and distillery across the road, as you can see, barely see in the corner of the screen there. But for the majority, we do see agriculture and residential uses surrounding the property and in the general vicinity. Traffic counts on NC Highway 50 South, 2,600 vehicles per day, and this is a 2021 count, and this is indicated as an existing major thoroughfare with adequate design. Our land use plan does identify this area as an agricultural area with regard to place type. And I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have about the site plan. Just one note on the site plan, you will see there are 3 drives noted. So this building was utilized as a, if you want to call it a country store or general store, for a number of years. And of course, with a lot of those, they come with, if you want to call it a unidrive across the front of the property. You will see on that plan there are 3 drives. In conversations during the initial, this preliminary technical review with DOT, we would be looking to reduce those number of drives to 2 and eliminate the center drive there, just for continuity and safety concerns there. If you have any questions, be glad to answer those at this time.
All right, any questions for Mr. Newton? So no changes to impervious surface or disturbing anything? Yet?
Should not be, no, sir.
Hey, thank the Lord.
It's already there.
All right, let's see. Now we have the applicant come forward and present their requests.
Yes, out to the I was, like I said, wanting to put a used car lot there. I said it's actually been in business since 1961 when my neighbor built the store. So it's always been a community place, and then I've had the shop next door over there for 30 years or so. Worked for the community all my life, and just have people calling me all the time wanting a good vehicle.
All right, any questions for Mr. McLam?
You live on the property as well, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And
I'm
I
gonna
will say,
visit ours.
8 to 5.
yeah, I was gonna say, could you pull up the conditions? I'm scrolling, trying to get there. So there's 11 of those. Mr. McLean, I take it you've seen all 11 of those before, and you're agreeable to all of those?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is he gonna be able to secure a NCDOT driveway permit with 3 existing drive lanes? But those driveways not permitted already?
So
And Mr. McLean, I don't, did you state your address when you got up to?
47, well, my address is 4675. I'm next door.
Okay,
But
okay.
the property there where I'm trying to get rezoned is 4709. And actually, between 4709 and, I don't know what Mr. Glenn Turnidge's address was next door where I bought the property from. Actually, that third driveway back towards Newton Grove, Meta area,
It's a shared driveway.
he wanted to be able to come out, so we split part of that driveway and then went further back behind where the tanks and all used to be.
Well, my question is, item 9 says secure an NCDOT driveway permit, and you've already got, we said we would do away with a driveway, so.
So that would be a condition of a permit based on site plan review.
Okay.
Be removal of we're looking to have the center driveway removed. So if you think of it in terms of a horseshoe drive around the property, display in the center or display to one side, but would allow entry on one side, exit on the other side,
That
or
would be
vice
for a
versa.
new driveway be to actually to remove one.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. McLam? All right.
I have a question.
All right.
Do you know if there's ever been any accidents there with those 3 driveways?
No, sir. I've been there, like I said, I've been there all my life, and there hadn't never really been any accidents. There have been a few in the last few years. Over at the wedding venue, people, they seem to lock them down at the last minute to get in there. It don't,
That driveway sneaks up on you.
and I mean, it's, yeah, I've sat there many times, I close, squinch up when I see them locked down. They've hit a few there, but the actual store, I hadn't never recalled no wrecks there.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. McLam. Anyone else wishing to speak on this case? All right, I will close the public discussion and call on Mr. Newton to summarize and present the planning board's recommendations.
Sir, Planning Board has reviewed case 24-06, recommends approval and offers for your consideration the statement of consistency in your packet.
All right, any questions for Mr. Newton? All right, I will close the hearing, and I will turn it over to the board for discussion and/or motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt a statement of consistency resolution as presented in the agenda packet and approve the rezoning request with the conditions as discussed.
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? All right, motion carries.
Sell some cars.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, thank you, I'll have a nice night.
Yes, sir.
All right,
You too.
thank you, Mr. McLam. All right, and next up, we have another conditional zoning district hearing. I will now open that for case 24-12. And Mr. Newton, I'll go to you once again.
Sir, case 24-12 is a petition to rezone 13.15 acre tract located at 726 Denning Road in the Banner Township from agricultural residential to general business conditional zoning district. Owner, Neil, and pardon me if I butcher it, but Donna Ra and Pincholi, and the applicant is Adams and Hodge Engineering. Conditional zoning request is specifically for a wedding and events venue. Existing surrounding zoning and land uses, agriculture and residential. You will see on screen, if you look kind of due west, you will see a container plant nursery, south and west. Container plant nursery. Everything else for the most part is farm field with some low density residential in the area as well. Just point of note, there is a riparian feature. You do see the creek and that meanders, and that does meander kind of that northerly property line on the right-hand side. Traffic counts for Denning Road is 3,300 vehicles per day. This is a 2022 count, and this portion of Denning Road does not appear on our CTP as needing improvement. This area is identified as a rural living place type in our comprehensive land use plan. You do see your conditions of operation or conditions of restricted conditions of development for the property, I think on page 50 of your agenda, and I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have as it relates to this case.
All right, any questions for Mr. Newton? All right, hearing none, I will call on the applicant to come forward and present their request.
Good evening. I'm Donnie Adams, professional engineer with Adams and Hodge Engineering, 314 East Main Street in Clayton. And my firm's handling the planning and hopefully move forward after tonight and do the engineering on this project. As noted, we're requesting conditional zoning for venue site. We do realize, should we get approved here tonight, that we'll be walking through the complete site plan process. We'll be securing permits with NCDOT, erosion control, stormwater, walking through the whole process with the county as appropriate. As you can see on the plan in front of you, there are some environmental features on site. We've had the wetland folks out and identified the wetlands. We are not proposing any impacts to those. You can see some dash lines where we're showing going across those wetlands, but those are intended to be boardwalks, elevated boardwalks across there. No buffer. I know Braxton mentioned stream. There's a stream there, but we fall into the Cape Fear Basin, so we're not subject to the new buffer rules. We're proposing gravel for the structures, for the structure of the roads and parking areas. We will have ADA spaces in there. The ADA spaces will be concrete or asphalt. We're proposing, and this isn't something that's going to happen immediately, but it'll be a growing process as they grow, should they get approved tonight, as they grow through the use. They're proposing a few different buildings to grow into and be able to offer different event opportunities at their venue site. With that being said, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, any questions for Mr. Adams?
I do, Mr. Chairman. The history of this was a residence, is that right?
Yes, sir, there is an existing residence there, and I thank you for saying that too. The intention is that they'll be using it for their own residential uses as well.
Okay.
All right, and I take it you've seen the 14 conditions and are agreeable?
Yes, sir. I've seen them, I've read them, and had a chance to go over it with the owners, and we all are good with the conditions proposed.
Okay. So, just a comment for staff. I noticed this one has, if 17,000 square foot of impervious, then that might want to be a standard one, just for future reference. Okay, all right. Sorry about that, Mr. Adams.
Sir, good.
I think there's no other questions for Mr. Adams. Anyone else here wishing to speak to this? All right, I will close the public discussion portion and ask Mr. Newton to come forward and summarize and present the planning board recommendations.
Sir, as it relates to case 24-12, planning board does recommend approval and offers for your consideration a statement of consistency.
I have a quick question. Sorry, I should have asked this earlier. Is there a noise ordinance in place on this property? And what is the time on that?
So the county has a general noise ordinance. This is something we've been instructed to look at as staff in terms of maybe beefing up the noise ordinance, but as it is now, that noise ordinance is what we're living with. This is typically enforced by our sheriff's department.
And is there a certain time that is?
I believe it's 10 p.m. or 11, 10 or 11 p.m.
I think it's 11.
Yeah, and I think that, can you go back to the aerial? And I think when you look at that,
Reasonable test involved.
it has a lot of natural buffers and distance in there, saying.
It
I just
does.
know where it's at.
Whittling will do a lot of
Noise
both.
travels really strongly in the area, and so I was just curious, with them having events and it being open till 2, there are some home sites nearby that I feel like could be affected if they went well into the wee hours.
Yeah, I think the hours of operation are
Okay,
7
thank
a.m.
you.
to 12
Yep.
a.m. So with the 12 a.m., what's kind of anticipated there is you got to give them a little bit of grace in terms of breaking
Packing up,
out, what have you, and removing.
Encouraging folks to go home.
Yeah,
Right.
but you're kind of, hopefully, you're cutting
Nice
cutting the
dog,
celebration off at a reasonable
Right.
hour.
Nothing good ever happens at 2 a.m.
Nothing good happens after midnight.
There's a wedding venue just up Benson Hardy Road, just kind of north of this site, and to my knowledge, our county's received no issues and no concerns over that one. And it's been operating now for several years.
Wanted to make sure.
Stevens, I just confirmed it's 11.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Newton. And the applicant has already agreed with the conditions, so I will close the hearing, and I believe, Steve, did you have another comment?
Nope, I was just going to make a motion to adopt a statement of consistency resolution as presented in the agenda packet and approve the rezoning request with the conditions as discussed.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion is approved. All right, you're still up. You don't get away that easy. You give us an update there.
Yes, sir. Just have one thing. I failed last month at when we were coming and giving some brief updates on our UDO project and CTP. With regard to the UDO, I mentioned the contract been fully executed. We did, or I failed to mention specifically the contract sum. You had previously, in approving us to go forward with negotiating that contract, you had granted the town manager the authorization to execute the contract up to a sum of $290,000. We have come in at $263,000. This is somewhat due to a negotiation in terms of the scope and some of the responsibilities. Most of those are surrounding our GIS staff being a little more integral in working the maps and the zoning, on the zoning map side of things, and we have significant savings there. So just wanted to make you aware, as well as our residents and your constituents here across the county, that we are working to make sure we're spending taxpayer dollars wisely and not flippantly. So.
And when is the estimated completion date on that?
So we should be 14 months from July, so September of next year.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
That is all I have.
All right. Thank you for your hard work and patience tonight.
Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Manager report and comments. All right. Board reports and comments.
You know, this morning we had our tax, head of the tax department, and I think about what a wonderful job Rick does managing these 1,500 some employees we have. Is that correct? Yeah, about 1,500, that's what I think. So I think we just need to give them a heads up every once in a while, let them know how much we appreciate the job. And our tax department is second to none as far as I'm concerned. So all of our departments do a wonderful job. And Rick, it comes down to leadership.
I was going to say a 99.91 reminds me of no grades I ever made.
Yep, that's right. Exactly.
I think the decimal makes me slid over to the left. Yeah, I don't mind. All right, Commissioner Smith? I couldn't get into Wake Forest, so that's why I went to Clemson. All right. By Chairman Harris.
No, sir, I can't follow that. Go ahead.
All right. All right, Commissioner Godwin, first pass. All right.
I don't have anything.
Commissioner Stovall?
Nothing tonight.
Stevens? And I don't have anything else. I know that everybody, please keep your eye on the weather, and I know emergency services folks are putting out updates on social media, and it'll be connected to the website as well, so just make sure you keep on that. And I know our emergency services and management staff will be on top of things. We got one of the best now operating in probably the best facility, county facility in North Carolina, so I know they're working hard to make sure our citizens are safe and informed. So with that, I will entertain the motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, well, I'll say a motion in a second. All those in favor, please say aye. 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 We are adjourned.